Have you ever found yourself wondering where your desire went? Not feeling that once came so naturally now seems distant, almost like a memory from someone else's life. If you're nodding right now, you're far from alone. Today, we're talking about something many experience but few discuss openly, dealing with low sex drive. Welcome back to the channel, where we dive into life's more complex topics with honesty and practical wisdom. I'm going to share some insights about navigating the challenges of diminished desire, something that affects millions of people yet remains shrouded in unnecessary shame and confusion. Whether it's appeared suddenly or gradually faded over time, a decrease in sexual interest can be concerning, confusing, and sometimes even relationship-threatening. But before you label it as a permanent problem or resign yourself to a life of limited intimacy, stay with me, because understanding why it happens is the first step toward addressing it effectively. What makes this conversation particularly important is that sexual desire exists at the intersection of our physical health, emotional well-being, relationship dynamics, and even our sense of self. By the end of this video, you'll have a clearer picture of the factors that might be influencing your libido and practical approaches that could help revitalize this important aspect of human experience. First, let's normalize what we're discussing. Fluctuations in sex drive are completely natural throughout our lives. There's no correct level of desire. What matters is how it affects you and your relationships, and whether the change feels problematic to you personally. Sexual desire isn't a constant. It ebbs and flows with life circumstances, health conditions, relationship dynamics, and countless other factors. One of the most significant influences on libido that we often overlook is stress. Our bodies are designed with survival as the priority, which means when we're under chronic stress, whether from work pressures, family responsibilities, financial worries, or global concerns, our reproductive systems often take a back seat. The body essentially decides this isn't a good time for sexual activity and redirects energy elsewhere. This makes evolutionary sense. In times of perceived danger or resource scarcity, reproduction becomes secondary to immediate survival. The problem in modern life is that many of us exist in a state of perpetual stress, never giving our bodies the signal that we're truly safe and can relax into pleasure. Some practical steps for addressing stress-related desire issues include creating deliberate transitions between work and personal time, practicing mindfulness to bring yourself fully into the present moment, and exploring stress reduction techniques that work specifically for your body and mind, whether that's exercise, meditation, time in nature, or creative expression. The second major factor in sexual desire is physical health. Numerous health conditions and medications can impact libido, often in ways we don't immediately connect. Hormonal imbalances are perhaps the most obvious. Changes in testosterone, estrogen, or thyroid function can dramatically affect desire in people of all genders. But other conditions like diabetes, cardiovascular issues, chronic pain, neurological disorders, or even sleep apnea can significantly reduce sexual interest. Additionally, many commonly prescribed medications list decreased libido as a side effect. These include certain antidepressants, blood pressure medications, antihistamines, and hormonal birth control methods. If you've noticed a change in desire that coincides with starting a new medication, this connection is worth discussing with your healthcare provider. The good news is that many physical causes of low desire are addressable. Regular physical activity, balanced nutrition, adequate sleep, and appropriate medical care can all contribute to hormonal balance and overall well-being, which often translates to improved sexual function. Hey, before we continue, if you're finding this information valuable, consider subscribing to the channel and hitting that notification bell. We regularly explore these kinds of important but under-discussed topics, and I'd love to have you join our growing community of people committed to understanding life's complexities with nuance and practical wisdom. The third area we need to examine is the relationship context. Sexual desire doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's deeply influenced by the quality of our connections. Unresolved conflict, communication breakdowns, trust issues, or simply the comfortable familiarity that comes with long-term partnerships can all affect how much we desire our partners. Many people don't realize that desire works differently in long-term relationships than in new ones. The spontaneous desire that characterizes early relationship stages often transitions to a more responsive form of desire that requires different kinds of nurturing. This isn't a deficiency, just a natural evolution that requires adaptation. Rekindling desire within relationships often involves addressing underlying emotional disconnections, creating space for novelty and playfulness, and sometimes stepping outside comfort zones to explore new aspects of intimacy. Counterintuitively, creating some separateness within togetherness, maintaining individual identities, interests, and growth can actually fuel attraction in long-term partnerships. Fourth, we need to consider the role of mental health in sexual desire. Depression, anxiety, past trauma, poor body image, and other psychological factors can profoundly impact our interest in sexual connection. These issues often create a negative feedback loop. Mental health challenges reduce desire, which then creates additional stress or relationship tension, further exacerbating the original problem. Working with qualified mental health professionals can be tremendously helpful here. Approaches like cognitive behavioral therapy, mindfulness-based interventions, or trauma-informed care can address underlying issues that may be affecting desire. Sometimes, simply having permission to talk openly about these challenges in a non-judgmental space can begin the healing process. The fifth element worth exploring is the quality of sexual experiences themselves. If sex has consistently been unsatisfying, painful, or associated with negative emotions, it's completely natural for desire to diminish. Our bodies and minds learn through experience, and if those experiences haven't been positive, we develop an understandable reluctance. Improving the quality of sexual experiences might involve better communication about preferences, addressing physical discomfort through appropriate medical care, or exploring new approaches to pleasure that honor your needs and boundaries. Sometimes, working with a certified sex therapist can provide valuable guidance for this process. Beyond these 5 key areas, it's worth mentioning that our culture's mixed messages about sexuality can create confusion and shame that dampens desire. We're simultaneously bombarded with hypersexualized media and restrictive messages about what normal sexuality should look like. Finding your authentic relationship with sexual desire, one that aligns with your values, needs, and circumstances, is a powerful act of self-determination. Remember that addressing low desire isn't necessarily about returning to some previous state or meeting an external standard. It's about understanding your unique sexual self, honoring your current reality, and making informed choices about what changes, if any, you want to pursue. If you're partnered, approaching this as a shared exploration rather than a problem to be fixed can transform the experience. Open, non-demanding communication becomes essential, creating space where both people can express needs, fears, and hopes without judgment or pressure. To summarize what we've covered today, most sexual desire is a complex experience influenced by stress levels, physical health, relationship dynamics, mental well-being, and the quality of sexual experiences themselves. Addressing it effectively requires a holistic approach that honors this complexity rather than seeking quick fixes. The path toward more satisfying experiences of desire begins with curiosity rather than judgment, with questions rather than assumptions. What might your changing desire be telling you about your life, your health, your relationships, or your needs? When we listen to these messages with compassion rather than criticism, they often contain valuable information about what needs attention or adjustment in our lives. I hope this exploration has offered some useful perspectives on navigating the challenges of low sexual desire. Remember that change in this area, like most meaningful change, tends to happen gradually and with consistent attention. Be patient with yourself and the process. If you found this discussion valuable, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more conversations about life's complex realities. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. What resonated with you? What strategies have you found helpful in your own experience? Your insights might be exactly what another viewer needs to hear right now. Also, check the description below for ways you can support the channel to ensure we can continue creating this kind of content. Until next time, remember that understanding ourselves better is always a journey worth taking.